Welcome all. We're calling the meeting of the Townsend Finance Committee to order at 5:38 p.m. As we have remote members as well as present and in-person members, I need a roll call attendance, please.
Geraldine Bezique is here.
Don Hayes here.
I think Sam's muted.
Andrea Wood here.
Yeah, this mute button's hard to find. I'm here. Hello. Bill.
Yep. Hi, Sam. Thank you. Appreciate you all being here. Going on to the agenda 1.3. This meeting is being recorded, is going live on Channel 9, is being recorded and will play back at different times on Channel 9 and will be available on YouTube to play as needed. Additions or deletions when not known. I had one more. I'm going to put it after the updates. I'm going to put it at 2.2. There was a request to increase the recreation account from 75,000 that was voted at town meeting to 100,000. So
Why? Oh, we'll get to that later.
We'll get to it later, but the reason is that the money coming in and the payments going out are at 93,000, so it exceeds the 75 on the annual basis. So they're looking to update it to say that 100,000 is the limit for expenses and revenue coming in. So,
We'll have to talk about that.
yep, that's fine. That's why it's just I didn't get a chance to get that out revolving.
Travis, did you know you can get this season's coat?
Okay. For revenue for recreation. Okay. That's the only addition or deletion I have at this time. So does anybody else have anything to add?
No.
Okay. That being said, we'll move into section 2, which is update from committee assignments. I have here, I'll start with the properties committee, whereas that's one I am on. The properties committee does continue to meet on a regular basis. We are meeting again in January. As a result of some of the properties committee, we had voted a total of 5 properties that the town should go out to bid on. They did an auction in November for 3 of them. One is being, the 4th is being held pending analysis by the state to see if they want to buy a piece of the property, and then we would have to break it up into two lots. And then the 5th and final is the water department building on Main Street, the brown building past the pump house, was approved for recommending that we go out to bid and sell that property. The timing is it won't happen until the water department fully moves into the new facility in the Harbor Trace plant. But with that, the three properties went up. All 3 were purchased at the auction. And my little piece, I was driving by the one that had been a gas station and then a carpet company, and they were emptying it out the other day. They had a dumpster out front, so they've totally emptied it. The purchase and the checks must have cleared, and so they came in and looks like they've started working on it.
Where's that carpet? Where's that? Oh, down here.
It's across from the Harbor Auto Body.
Okay.
And so it looks like that was successful, and that will have put some revenue into our coffers that we hadn't been receiving when the real estate taxes weren't being paid. So we continue to work on that. And look forward to getting more properties through the process and continuing to get properties back onto the tax rolls so we can start. Because that's the ultimate of this. 3 properties are now back on the tax rolls, so we have additional taxes
Oh,
that we can
good.
be collecting.
Good.
So, and then again, that was a piece of the auction. They had to prepay the taxes for this fiscal year.
Mhm.
So everything seemed to be very good with that. We'll continue. The audit, that's it for properties. Any questions from anybody on properties committee?
No.
None being heard, we'll move to audit. We had successfully finally completed the FY '22 audit. We had that meeting with the audit company, Rosselli, and they will be doing our FY '23 audit. They should be starting relatively soon on that. So we will follow up with that. And when we have a full committee, so I'll look to this in January. I would like to put it out to see if anybody else would like to be on the audit committee going forward. With that, the audit committee is what I consider off cycle. It's December to December, not the June to June like the other assignments that we have. And again, that, there's not much going with that. They had good information for the audits. We have they did find some items. We cleared them up for the FY '23, and moving forward, hopefully we can implement a few more of their changes. Again, they had found some money in some accounts that we can reuse. Some of it not all at once. Others of it we had the ability to use. So it looks like there may be, again, more money available to have, which might be good going forward. See if Board of Selectmen want to make recommendations for bolstering the stabilization fund or things like that. But there are some expenses coming up this year, so maybe we use that money for those expenses. That's really it for audit. We had a few problems, but we're working with the auditors and moving forward. We fixed 2 or 3 of the problems they found year to year, and that will get us back on track with being able to pass the audits cleanly. Last one is capital planning. I was going to have Mark is our representative on capital planning. He's not here.
I can do it.
Okay,
Mhm.
so we'll have,
We have 2 meetings coming up in January, one on the 9th and one on the 16th. I'm sorry, one on the, no,
Yeah.
take that back. It's the 16th and the 23rd
and
and the 30th.
And the 9th,
And
yeah.
the 9th, yeah.
yeah, so I think you get 9, 16.
23 and 30. No,
Yeah.
no, it's the 16th, the 23rd and the 30th.
Okay,
Okay, and so we're expecting to have, everybody has their information in that they need for the
Mhm.
next coming year, and that's about it. So we don't have any information yet, but
Mhm. Yeah.
we've talked to several people and they're coming in with their plans.
Right. and I believe there was supposed to be a meeting today, and that was pushed out
Mhm.
until to fill in one of your weeks there.
I think it's the 16th.
Okay, so we'll continue working with that and looking forward to it. Okay. I'll just throw it out there since that last. Any questions on any of the 3 reports? And being
No,
heard.
not here.
We'll move to 2.2, the review of the revolving account for recreation. And I don't think, unfortunately, I don't think I got it out to everybody. I'm gonna flip over to it. And I'm gonna just hide this column for now. So what was presented to me was by month, they had listed what the staff payments were, for a total for the year for 74,000. And then they listed what their supplies expenses were, for the year all the way through, and that was $19,000. When they took the two subtotals and went for the total, it came to 93,801. And that's why they were looking to go to the $100,000
Is that what we had given them?
revolving account. We had, at town meeting, we voted 75,000.
Okay, and how did they go over the 75? How did they get to the, what happened? Was it all in help or was it?
It's mostly in health. It is,
Do we have an increase in people or?
I think it's increase in people. What we don't have is how much revenue they took in to cover these expenses, so we don't have balance, with it.
Well, that's something we should,
We
we have
should
to,
look at the whole.
we'll have to look at that whole
This
picture.
this is a piece of the story. And personally, what I did is I put the supplies side by side with the overlay of the months,
Mhm.
so I could see the two of them together. And then I just do this little piece where I can see them together here. It is just a different layout of the same data. I'm just used to looking at it like this, and I can slice and dice things and look at them. So it's the same information, in the columns. It's just,
So it's all in health then?
the majority is health.
Do they hire somebody else? Did they-
No. This is their, the people that get paid out of the revolving account are the instructors
Oh, I see.
and the staff for the summer.
Okay,
It is not, it is part of the assistant, for recreation and all of the counselors or,
Okay. So what we need to know from that is how much they're making off their programs. We don't have that information?
I don't have, that information was not provided, so we don't
When
have
did
it
the
right now.
selectmen
That's what
vote
we
to
need.
do this?
I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah, Andrea, could you repeat?
Oh, I'm sorry. When did the selectmen vote to do this?
I received an email around the end of November that said they had voted it.
Okay, because I missed it at their meeting. But in August, they, the recreation, they voted to go for a reserve fund transfer because some of their materials had been destroyed. But it was at the end of their season, so I guess they never came to us for it.
No, yeah.
So I was curious when they had voted this because I missed it entirely at the meeting.
Okay, let me just jump over and see. Notification, okay. So there was, and if I did not. Now, this was Eric's reply back. So it was mid-November when I had seen it. Let's see it. Let's see if we have the document.
Can they supply us with, what their programs are and how much they've made by the time they come into the, to see us this year?
We can request that, yeah. Increase in revolving.
I think that would be good to know, just,
Yeah. Okay.
How do they advertise their
Their
programs?
programs, it's on the website on a regular basis. I think there's posters around town.
Mhm.
Um, Ew.
I am a
Yeah.
bit confused. I
Okay.
thought the revolving fund that they had was just to pay for the summer program.
Well, but they have year-round programs. After
Right,
school- Yeah,
but
yeah, so,
I thought those monies were kept somewhere else. I didn't think they had become part of the summer program revolving fund.
mm, okay, so I would say we're looking for more information. We're looking for what programs are running in what months, and the revenue that's associated with this. So we can see the outline, and the outline of money is 93,801, but we don't know what the income
Right,
is and where the other expenses might be. Okay, so we're looking, we'll go back to them and ask for a detailed list of this before and get a full review before we make any recommendations. One of the items we'll be doing later is setting our meeting dates, so once we have, set a meeting date, I can get the email out to Emmy, and,
Could you also ask what constitutes their revolving fund so I can have it clearly delineated in my mind?
okay, yeah, and what's in the revolving fund for recreation?
Yeah, what monies go into that? Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so at this point, I would say we take no vote on this. I don't think I need a motion to that effect, but, we have more questions, so we don't want to vote on the revolving account, so we will come back to that. The next item on the list, the 2.3, the review of the finance committee. I had done the final updates that Josh had provided, a lot of grammatical corrections and things. There was no real content changes. I had forwarded that out to everybody earlier today.
I read that and you did a beautiful job. Thank
A
you.
lot of it was Josh. I think that's good. So we will try to schedule something with the selectmen to go over it if they have any questions. We can do that. Okay, I don't we'll take that is all that's really all there is. I just wanted to make sure everybody received a new copy today, so. So moving on the agenda to 2.4, the current BVA report. Probably not fair. I just got it out to everybody today with that large list of other files. But as we move forward, the BVA report that I would be looking for that was paying attention to the maintenance account for the police because they had requested the reserve fund transfer. The balance still would not take them down to zero. So at this point, we have approved the first of the reserve fund request from them. And once it meets the criteria that the account would would go to zero, then we will approve it and send it to Katie Kazanjian to do the transaction on the books. Then the rest of it, there are a few other accounts that we may, in January, we might want to start looking closer at them, like energy. Water, looks like it was potentially a bit of an issue this year for some departments. The water rates did go up, and it looks like the water accounts may not be fully funding for the full year for those. And so we can look closer at it and see if there's any other accounts that we have questions with. And again, during the review period, we can have those conversations with the department heads to see what the plans may be for addressing any issues.
You know, in the budget letter.
Yeah.
It might be advisable in the future to remind departments of increases within the government so that I can see how you could, as a department, easily forget that your water bill had increased.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and
Yeah.
remind of increases that you might have to pay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and again, I think on that, we'll get to the details of that, but as you mentioned, I think part of that is in the review, they should be looking at, this is closing in on the 6 months into the budget year. They should be using their BVA report as they prepare for their budget so that they can identify the lines that may have been short this year. And that they need to increase, even though it's against the guidance and how that happens. But you're right, it's kind of like that could be a line in the budget memo to them, just as a reminder to, okay, any other questions or, let's see. I was going to say, I don't think I have the BVA report up, but I can just show. So this is the facilities water. That one is in good shape at 19. The police water is already at 109%. So they're a little down. Again, it's not a big budget line, so when you look overall, their expenses are at 32%, so it's not, so far they're able to absorb it, but that gets us into that planning for next year piece. Fire EMS is at almost 72%, and this is the November 30th, so we're only 5 months into the year. So that's another one that could be. Highway water is sitting at 43%, so they're about on target. Cemetery and parks, 23%, they're looking good. But again, that was just taking a look at it. It was a little off when and then highlighting the 2 lines, the facility water. This this line had nothing in it, so we need to really combine the 2 lines, the negative line and the positive line. And that goes down to probably about 25% on the total water budget. Is done, but that, like I say, if, review the report, take a look. If there's any questions, we'll bring it up at, January's meetings and, have the discussions and see if we can get answers to some of the lines. Okay, if there's nothing else on the BBA, item 2.5, review the reserve fund request memo. The police department had also okay, so we'll go back and find it. I did not get a chance to print this out or forward it. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I gotta move some things so I can get to this and blow it up so we can see it. Okay. So this request, the last request was for, not the building, but equipment maintenance. This is the police, repair and maintenance for building. If I look at the request, the police department elevator did not pass the state inspection, and so they had to get it up to code. And so they had the unexpected invoice for $3,421. They rounded it to $3,420 in their request. So as we see, the present balance in the account is the $16,461. So that gets to that criteria of we don't apply it, but this was building maintenance that was not anticipated or budgeted for. So as they get down later in the year, they will be needing, we expect they will need this money to pay this bill so that they can use it to do their normal repair and maintenance. So this is where I saw the $3,421, but the invoice attached above is for $3,420. If I get to the bottom,
Well,
so
I don't understand.
yeah.
I understand that this was an unforeseen expense,
Mm-hmm.
but they have money in the budget.
Yeah.
So this bill has been paid, and the amount remaining is what's still left in the account?
I believe they have paid it. Let me check. Yay. I was gonna say, can you see the BVA account now? You want this going up a little bit? So this is the November accounts report. When I look at the repair and maintenance building, the amount remaining today is $10,000, so I would say this bill has been paid, and the unpaid balance or the unexpended balance in the account is $10,000 rather than the $16,000 when they had submitted the request.
Well, then if he's very careful with those expenses, he may not need to transfer at all.
He made, and that's what we've been doing. The other is, on the second line, the repair and maintenance on the equipment. And that's sitting at 28,000. That's where the first request is sitting. And so what we said we would do with that first request was approve the request because it was not a foreseen expense. It was near $6,000 for the lightning hit on their tower on Lunenburg Road, I think it was. So we said once we approved the request because that was, lightning strike is not is an unforeseen. And so if their budget needs it, we said that we would approve that transfer
Right.
to that account for that.
I actually think that, except for maybe things you have to buy reoccurring year after year, most
Mhm.
expenses are
Interesting.
unanticipated,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
I think it's become confusing to people whether you just pay off because it's an unanticipated expense or it's an unanticipated expense that's broken your budget. And that's when we pay off, when it breaks your
Right.
budget, not when you just didn't expect to have that expense.
Right, right, and I think a piece of that is, as we have all of the different departments that have building and infrastructure and all these pieces that can break, I truly believe that maybe what we need is actually maybe doubling the account numbers. And we have one that's a maintenance, and we have one that's a repair. So the repairs would go to things you have to fix, and the daily maintenance or the weekly maintenance and monthly maintenance that you do would go into a maintenance account rather than lumping it together as repair and maintenance, separate them out. And they could have a budget and only put, say, $500 in it because we don't anticipate anything breaking, or maybe they do anticipate something in the next year and they could put something for that in there, and if something else unexpected comes in, it would break that budget line, and we could
Right.
do it. But if we're, I think it has to be part of a larger strategy for the town, that if the finance committee is going to do reserve fund transfers for any system that breaks in that area and we have to do the repairs, we would have to have a larger reserve fund to be able to hit all of the different items that are coming in, that would come in.
Yeah, well, and if you just do it for any expense that doesn't break the budget, you're going against what the reserve fund is for.
Right.
It's not a budget supplement. It's to
Right.
keep departments functioning.
Yeah.
But whereas they have $10,000 or they had 16,000, the money should have come out of there without the transfer, right?
And it did.
And it did, so,
Right.
and are they trying to just replace the money at this point?
So
So that they have 13 rather than 10?
that would be the request if we process this transfer right away. If we say approve this expense, and then we have to be careful that we don't overcommit the $50,000.
So we should just leave it at the 10 until he
needs it.
needs it?
That is one option, or what we had said we would do with the first one was we'll continue to monitor it, the BVA report on a monthly basis. That way, he doesn't have to come to us and say, I need it this month. We're doing it as part of our regular
Right.
business of monitoring it and saying, we We recognized it was, you know, the lightning strike and the repair was out of any kind of normal budgeting process in repair.
Would we have insurance for anything like that?
Um,
That question was asked at the time, I remember. I don't remember the answer, but I remember it was asked.
yeah. Good question, it's kind of,
Well, we'll have to look into that.
yeah, exactly, you know, or how much would that be as a right around the policy?
Mhm.
You know, is it worth?
Straight to the one. Yeah.
Right, it's kind of, you know, and I will say that I have heard that our two pumps in the septic system had failed, so there may be another,
Oh,
something coming up. Again, more equipment you don't expect to break
right.
in a normal year, and both pumps were,
Yeah.
both pumps had failed, and, maybe not at the same time, but they ended up both failing. And the only thing that's monitored is the level in the septic tank, not the pumps. So it's
Yeah.
but again, that's separate from where we are. Okay, sorry, it's kind of like we're taking it a little bit. We talked about the old and the new. So with the request for the elevator repair,
So we've taken it out.
it's the payment's been made, it's been taken out. Do we do the similar piece and vote on this to approve and allocate the money in the,
Back to the account, you mean?
back to the account when it goes to zero, or do we say at this time it's on hold, we'll continue to monitor it in the BVA report, and then approve it if necessary for the account.
I don't think it has to go all the way to zero.
Mhm.
But, you know, if you, an account like that got down to, I don't know, $2,000 or something,
Okay, yeah,
that would justify not being able to meet your expenses.
okay, yeah, and that, I'm just, okay. Just
You know, it
trying
would
to do
depend on the account and the time of the year, but,
that. Yeah, that's the thing, I'm looking at it saying, it can be let's talk about it as being some sort of formula that we can apply.
right,
Like, the total annual amount is $19,000, which is about 15, I'm gonna say 1,500 a month. It's, you know, a little more than that, but at 1,500 a month. So if it's 1,500 a month and we have 7 months to go, we're talking, it's gonna, the 10,115 is pretty close to being able to make it. So it could only be in the end, but I don't know all the repair and the maintenance, you know, so far to date, we're paid $8,884 out of the account. And again, this was November 30th, so that's five months out of the year. That's about 17,000, 18,000 a month. So that run rate seems to go there. And if we have 10,115 left and we have 7 months to go, gonna make me do math, are you? So looking at that, you're roughly I'm gonna estimate it at $400 a month, sure.
So, what are we gonna do? Just leave it at the 10 to monitor it, and then if it gets down to for two, then,
If it's. Okay, sorry, let's it clear everything, okay. I'm not gonna say that 1,800 a month, so that's about 5 months to go, so it looks like
good make.
you could make it, or you're gonna be a little thin, and that's in the April timeframe that we'd have to, we can come back and visit it, and maybe it's not the full 3,200, but it might be 2,000.
Mhm.
So there's, I don't know, does using math and a formula seem to make some sort of sense? We can do those kinds of things. What's the average monthly value in the account? Again, we can't do it in a vacuum. We need to involve the department heads with this. But if we take that as a rough guesstimate for what we're trying to do, it looks like in that April timeframe, we can look at it and say, we need to put $2,000 in here because they won't make it because they had the unanticipated expense.
No.
Okay, and again, part of that goes to, we don't really have anything documented, so we'll document it and kick it around with everybody. If that's okay. Just making a note to. Sorry, keep this quiet when I write. Otherwise I write where I'm parking. I mean, if this was April and it happened, we'd know we have to pay the entire amount.
Mhm.
It's because we're in the beginning of the year here, we don't want to, we can't overcommit on what we allocate to reserve fund, and we have to watch for everything
Mhm.
that's going, without having to have a special town meeting. Okay. And again, if the department heads know what our formula is and what we're using, that's a perfect ability for them to be able to self-monitor it and come when we expect the request to come in. Okay. Lots of discussion on that. Does it sound reasonable to try to document something for reserve fund procedure and come up with a formula for estimating the need or when to submit the transfer to us with supporting? I suppose that could be, yeah, that the form has the supporting calculations in there. So modify the form. Okay. Okay, I'm good with procedures and things. Any other thoughts? Or we wanna take a look, see what comes out? Of a procedure and formulas and see how it applies. Okay. Okay, anything further comments on item 5, the reserve fund request? Not updated. Okay. Okay, moving on to item 6, the budget guidance memo. Worksheets, budget. Okay, yeah, okay. So. If you hadn't read it, then we'll just go to it. We're initiating the FY 2025 budget process and guidance to department heads. Based on the FY 2024, the town's is close to the maximum levy limit as we are year over year. This means the total expenses can only increase by 2.5 plus any growth without triggering a Proposition 2.5 override. The ask is that each department to submit conservative operating budgets and capital requests along with the following guidelines. The salary and wages per union contract would be a 2% COLA step increase. 2% COLA and a step increase. So
Excuse me,
yeah.
do you know how much the step increase is percentage-wise? Because it's varied over the years. It was 2.5 for a long time, and then last year it was what, 4 or 3?
Well, it would, the step was 2 and the COLA was 2, so it was a total of 4.
Oh, all right.
So I anticipate that the step is again 2 and the COLA is 2, so it's looking at a 4% increase again.
Okay.
Total on the labor lines. And it's stating level services, no new employment positions. There may be extenuating circumstances which require justification, preferably with an additional revenue source. All stipends are to remain level from fiscal year 24. All non-salary lines should be level funded from FY 24. Exceptions to this will only be on the case-by-case basis. So expenses are being level funded. And again, the exceptions are going to have to be where we're gone over the budget line for those lines anyway, or for the total. We can,
Well, you know,
yeah,
in what we discussed earlier,
yeah,
some of those expenses can't be level funded because they didn't account for the water increase.
right.
So those will automatically have to be raised
I would
to
say
meet the service.
exactly to meet this, to meet it, but is there another line, in their budget that can be offset to, and again, we won't know that till we're closer to the end, or we can try to extrapolate out.
Yeah.
But and again, we're just now hitting full heating season. So when we talk about the energy lines, we're really not going to know that until we hit the April and May timeframe and all of those expenses are in.
When will we enter into that savings program that the selectmen got?
The town is already in it. The town has signed up and is already in it. The electrical aggregate for the rest of the town is for the townspeople and the people that are Unitil takers. I haven't heard, they had the approval to go out and bid. I haven't heard if there's been any people that have come back with an acceptable rate yet to be signed. But the town itself entered into one for just all of their facilities.
Well, that should make it easier then, in a way, to anticipate expenses.
It should be, we should be able to take the usage last year and multiply it by the rate for this year and come out with a number.
Okay.
Yep, agreed. So there may be a lot of math in this year's plan.
It's
And
so lovely you're good at math.
I'm not good at, I'm good at making sure that spreadsheets do the math and the calculations for me.
Any way you do it, as long as it gets done.
That's right. It's kind of like, and then we have to double check it, and make sure um, it's correct. It's kind of like, because that's always been an issue. And then, please include a summary of full-time equivalent personnel. And again, this was delivered and I would also like to see, the benefited positions, number of benefited positions. Because you can have 20 part-timers at 15 hours a week to come out with your 500 hours, so that your full-time equivalent of personnel is one number, but none of them are benefited. But if you had 500 hours among 8 employees, you've got 8 benefited positions that you're trying to pay for. So I think there's 2 numbers we really need to see, is the full-time equivalents that it's not increased, and benefited positions aren't increased.
Well, the other thing too, that we're getting closer and closer to the deadline in the fire department and the police department. We have, as well as a couple other positions within general government, are afforded and funded now through the ARPA fund.
Correct.
And if
Yep.
we're going to keep them and keep that as our level 4s,
Mhm.
we're going to have to come up with some big bucks somewhere.
We do, and maybe that's a piece of the strategy of level funding expenses, so that we keep the salaries. One of the things that we have in our review is, and we look at the procedure, the budgeting procedure said, we should be seeing, as we get this information in the beginning of January, we should have a 5-year plan in front of us that shows us that. Because if we look at where the budget is today, because of the ARPA funds, we're running a $350,000 deficit budget going in.
I didn't
That's-
realize it was that high.
Yeah, yeah. We can go back over it, but, and it's probably a little bit more than that. It probably is closer to maybe a 400,000.
Well, it will be more every year because there are increases in the salaries every year.
There's increases in the salaries, but the amounts that ARPA had paid were level funded. So we were picking up the raises in the operating budget. And so, in some cases, we're not fully funding positions, we're partially funding positions with the ARPA funds. But that's the idea. By the time ARPA money goes away in this, I believe it's December 31st of 2026.
26 or 25?
We have to say how we're gonna spend it by the end of 25. We have to use it by the end of 26.
Yeah.
Is my understanding of those funds.
I never have been really clear. Is this calendar 26 or fiscal 26?
It's calendar 26.
Okay.
So December 31st, 2026 will be the end of ARPA fund use. And so that's why it was important to us to really see if we have that 5-year plan, we know what the requirements are going in. If we have to go to the town and ask for some sort of override to 2.5, we can have that full picture, full financial picture of what the 2.5 does and how it will project into the future, that we won't be coming back year over year asking for another 2.5 override. I think it's got to be that complete picture.
I hate to ask this. I have asked it a number of times and never get an answer, of course. if the override is voted down,
Mm-hmm.
what do we do then? Lay off personnel?
It could be layoff personnel or cut back on hours, cut some
But since
salaries,
we're self-insured on unemployment,
then the
if we
unemployment.
lay off personnel, we're still
Yeah.
gonna have a huge expense.
We do, we're responsible for that expense if we do that.
Trash.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's, those are the pieces. If we need money in this, and we thought we were gonna get it with Prop 2.5 override, and we don't get it, then you have to start the cuts in order to balance the budget by the amount that you had sought for the override.
Okay.
So, that's again, why, if you're gonna ask for an override the financial picture is really what you wanna see. That 5-year plan of, what it looks like without a 2.5 override and with the 2.5 override. And that should be easy to do. Okay, sorry, I had jumped from the letter. The last bullet point was capital requests should only include items for FY 25 plus anticipated items for FY 26 through 29. So that's the piece coming into what the capital plan people should see. And it's asking for all of the FY 25 budget requests sent to the town administrator by January 8th of 2024. A little more detail on the capital request forms. Again, these were 2 additional worksheets that were provided. In the standard Excel worksheet for the budget, and I think it's the same capital request form that we've used in the past. And it's gonna review the budget, and says Eric will review and all budget and capital requests and populate the information into the main budget spreadsheet, and it will be viewable by select board, finance, capital planning for their review. There will be an all department boards committee joint FY 24 meeting scheduled. I think that's FY 25. Meeting scheduled for Saturday, March 9th. This is the first, we usually do one in the beginning of March. We have a joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen. And so this is the date that's been put forward. At this point is the Saturday, March 9th. So that's the letter. Any additional questions from the budget guidance letter?
It may have been changed. I looked today and I couldn't find it, and I made some calls but didn't get any response.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed to me that in the bylaw, copies, the worksheets are supposed to go to the selectmen, the finance committee, and the accountant. But in his letter, they all go
Mhm.
just to the accountant. I mean, just to the
Just the town
selectmen.
administrator.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
And that's what's happened in years past. And
Yeah.
I now we may well have changed the bylaw. Like I said, I
Yeah.
couldn't find my copy, and I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I'll just take a look.
Oh,
Um,
I didn't even think of that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Um, I just. Budget policy. Okay, so this is my 5-year plan policy with the town accountant. The forecast shall be used as a budget tool. So maybe it's in the bylaws, chapter 41. Okay. This, it, by default, I'm reading in, let me pull it up again. The department budget, any department, whose budget has not been submitted to the town accountant, so reading that, the default seems to be that, yeah, it should go to the town accountant in addition to Board of Selectmen and Finance Committee.
Because that's been a problem in the past, though the sheets may change. At
Yeah.
least if you get them right from the beginning, you can make the changes as they change, but you know what you're coping with. We end up way too late in the game finding out what we're coping with.
Right, yep, agreed, that's, so, we will, I think, we'll take a look at it and then schedule departments to come in. I had the process that I was introduced to was, a previous town administrator would always be the interface. We never really saw the department heads. He would answer all the questions, or if he had a question that he couldn't answer, he would call the department head into the meeting and get it. So I think this, we probably need to change it up and have the departments in, much like they do with Board of Selectmen. Yeah, yeah. But you're right, it's kind of like looking at the bylaws, it looks like the town accountant should have been copied on those also. And that's the thing, there's so many, there's can be multiple iterations of it, we have to be careful with it. But we'll see, because we haven't even got the answer whether we're doing spreadsheets again or whether it's gonna be that ClearGov software. I don't think it's gonna be ClearGov software, but I can't say for sure. So we'll take a look at that. Okay.
Well,
Sorry. Yeah.
then that answers another question I was going to ask. The worksheets themselves,
Mm-hmm.
the new sort of formatting of it, that was done by Eric, not by the company we hired, correct?
Yes, as far as I can tell.
Okay.
Okay, so cancel that. Open. But this really looks like the same old spreadsheet, the labor expenses, and then the summary on the top sheet. So that looks, the worksheets they provided look exactly like all of the old worksheets.
Okay.
So that it does not appear that we've changed anything, for the ClearGov software.
When I called them up, they looked a little different on my email, so I thought
Okay.
they maybe were. You know, one of the things that I would like more
Yeah.
information on in the budget regarding the police department,
Mhm.
they is they have a shift differential. I'd like to know what that is and what that amounts to,
Yeah.
and overtime. Overtime is huge, and anything that happens there with any officer affects overtime. I
Mhm.
think we need to get a better handle on overtime.
Yep. Um, I agree. I was looking at that today in the BVA report, because I think there's even 2 overtime lines. So we need to be clear on who may go in each overtime line. But yes, definitely we're looking for more clarity. And even on some of the line items that they have for expenses, we need to more clarity as to what's going to be in that line.
Hmm.
You know,
There shouldn't be a lot of miscellaneous. It should be-
there should be not a lot of miscellaneous. If there's a line like other that say over 5,000,
We have to know.
we have to know, or you need a lot. If there's a line that's going to be $2,000, the other line becomes 3,000, and you should do a separate line and explain what a $2,000 expense is going to be. Something along those lines.
Well, you know, if we make them break it out that much,
Mhm.
that's likely to help with avoiding problems like the increase in the water.
True.
Because if
Yep.
you're talking about it as individual things from this account or that account,
Mhm.
it's more likely to come up than if you just put it in oh, well, it comes from this great miscellaneous thing here.
Yeah, yeah, and again, that's one of the things that we had written in. It was specifically speaking to the accounts that say other, but, there are certain lines that we may want to take more detail on. And kind of,
And what we can do too is if we're going to call people in to
mhm,
talk to them about their budget, before we call them in, we can make a list of those things that we want to know
right,
and
yeah,
submit it to the person so that they're prepared to answer the questions when they come.
yeah. So we schedule an internal finance committee meeting, review the budget, come up with the questions, submit the questions to the department head, and then ask them to come in with answers.
Yeah.
Something like that. Okay, I'm just, in my mind, building how we get into the January, February timeframe and look through the budgets. But I think that's good.
Well, we might not be able to get it fully implemented this year, but we can start. And I think it's important now to at least make a start on a lot of these things.
Yep, I agree. I mean, I know last year I did meet with a couple of department heads individually, just to get clarity on their budget and go that mile of, that extra piece of, let's work with them. And then, because I had worked with them, I knew a little bit more about how their budget was prepared and could answer some questions that did come up in those budgets.
Another thing, and I hate to be really ugly about this, but I am going to be.
Hmm.
I think at some point, when the selectmen pass on certain things always seem to pass,
Mhm.
and we seem to go along with it, is I think maybe we should challenge the selectmen more on what they want to do with certain budget things.
Mhm. Yeah.
I mean, if just for conversation, I'm not saying,
No, no. It's kind of like, I'll give you the one that's at the top of my mind. It's kind of like there's $24,500 on a line in the selectmen's budget that I want to say needs to come out next year. I don't think it was a success this year, which is the shuttle.
That's right.
So yes, we have to be, we have to look at those, look at the lines and the details and really scrub it as if it was our own budget again. It's kind of like in question it and, maybe even knock them down a bit to try to come up with that, with that amount of money that ARPA is, not gonna pay for in a few years.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm gonna close the spreadsheet screen and get back to the, so as far as budget process that we talked about, I like the idea of we schedule department reviews. We come up with our list of questions, we get them to a department head and we bring them in. And my thought is we get on to an every other, Tuesday schedule, which is opposite the selectmen meetings. And that being,
You gonna schedule those tonight or?
we can talk about it, we can just schedule January for now, if we want. I should have opened that. Holiday schedule. So, oh, that's the holiday schedule, that's not the selectmen schedule. Now, that's good, that's a good one to have, just in case. Dates, okay, so we have selectmen dates through. So they're meeting the 9th and the 23rd, which if we're talking January, then we would be the 16th and the 30th. But that's gonna,
At what time?
well, I know you've got the capital planning, do we
We're
wanna,
at 4 o'clock then.
do we wanna keep it at 5:30 or do we wanna go to 6 o'clock?
What time does selectmen come in?
Well, the selectmen,
Oh, they're the other
they're
week.
the other week.
Okay.
So that's what we did in the fall here. We went every other so that we're not in conflict with the selectmen.
Mm. What do you think?
We can, I would say for now, because we're only 4, that we should try the 16th and the 30th.
It's okay.
And then we'll confirm when we have a full.
What time are we going?
Well, and that's the thing, is 6 better for you, to
Probably.
give you a break? Okay, so let's say we'll do 6 o'clock in January and see if we adjust that back. I had chosen 5:30 thinking it tried to keep it close to the 4, but.
Well,
it's kinda-
after January. we can
After
do whatever
January,
we
then,
want,
yeah, and we'll see, so we'll schedule. Does that,
Well,
so
if
Dave
you-
and I talking in the room, so it would be, we're talking about Tuesday, the January 16th and Tuesday, January 30th at 6 PM. Does that work for both of you?
It's fine with me.
Okay, And then we'll have Mark and, Josh in the room, for them and see if, and then schedule further in as we get to,
Do we know who,
February,
who we want to see on the 16th or the 30th, or you haven't picked them, or?
on the 16th, this is where, process-wise, I think we talk about, we're gonna review a couple of departments, and we come up with our questions, and then on the 30th, we bring them in. And so we'll start a rotating kind of piece.
Okay, well, I will tell you on the 16th, Capital is going to see the fire chief and the police chief.
Okay,
So I don't know if that makes any difference or not.
probably sets up with who we wanna see, so on the 16th, we may not wanna see them,
Because
because they will have
we're.
just been
right.
with capital planning, and so, we may wanna see them on the
30th
on
maybe?
the 30th. And then the two that you have on the 30th are
On the 30th,
cemetery and parks and highway, I think.
on the 30th?
So,
No, that's not right.
no, for capital planning, I think, so,
We're not meeting on the 30th, we're, oh. I don't know.
That schedule with capital planning is liable to work out very, very well for
Yeah.
giving us additional information and maybe even answering some questions that we would
Right.
have from
So-
both those departments.
yeah, so we may wanna see if, I think you've got a January 9th meeting too.
After the 16th, 23rd, and the 30th.
Okay.
And on the 16th, I have, what do I have? The 16th, I have, fire and police.
Yeah.
On the 23rd, I have water and facility. And on the
Okay.
30th, I have parks
see.
and cemetery.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you
Okay.
want to do.
No, we'll take them into account on who you're meeting with.
Okay,
And then we'll meet with them, we'll review them with their capital plan.
Okay.
Information the following week,
okay,
and then schedule the meeting with them with our questions.
okay.
Okay,
Mhm.
I get it, it's kind of like, and you're right, I see it on the calendar now, 16, 23, and 30, so. And then those agendas will have it. Okay. Okay, so we'll take the spreadsheets that come in, and I know town clerk will be in, she's usually
Mhm.
right on top of it, so. But, and there may be some like that, but even if it's quick, I think it, bringing in each of the department heads gives us that opportunity to speak face to face.
And I did mention to you that Neshoba Tech wants to come in and see us.
yeah.
Okay,
So maybe them coming in too would be, good early on.
okay.
Jerry
Um,
Lynn,
Yep,
Neshoba Tech wants to come and see who,
us,
Finance Committee or the Capital
Finance
Planning?
Committee.
Finance committee,
Finance. They put a request in, to me about 2 weeks ago, and they said they'd like to come in and see us. I don't think it's anything bad. I think it's more information than probably anything else.
so,
Oh, I'm
Okay.
sure. I wasn't anticipating anything bad. I just wasn't sure which us you were referring to.
No, I know.
Yeah.
I get confused sometimes after.
yeah, how
I
many-
don't know which hat I have on sometimes.
so, okay, so we don't have a full schedule, but we have a January schedule that we'll go with. I'll take the list of information that comes in, the budgets that come in, and we'll start reviewing some. We do have enough time. Does it make sense to have the school committee come in right at 6 o'clock, have their conversation, and then we move into some budget reviews after they're done.
Yeah.
So we have that interface and,
Can you contact them over there as to what day they're coming or
okay, yeah.
what day you want them to
Yeah.
come?
Yeah, I think we can find a contact. I know, I can talk to the school. Even, maybe we invite our, National Protect reps.
Well, she was the one that put the request in,
Okay, yep, so,
so they should,
We'll
she
invite
should
them.
come also.
Yep. yeah, or we can send the invitation through to them,
Mhm,
because her husband's alternate, I believe.
mhm.
Okay, yeah. See? I do pay attention to
Okay.
a little bit of what's going on. It's kind of like when they both have the last name,
I know, it's,
kind of easy to figure out sometimes. Okay, so back to agenda. We have confirmed 2 meetings in January, the 16th and 30th, at 6 o'clock, which I have to confirm and send out the request if we can to get Zoom meetings set up. But that's what we'll go for, starting in January on the 16th, and we'll move forward from there. Okay, that's everything in the agenda. Anybody else have any new business?
Nope.
Okay. If there's nothing else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn at 7 o'clock, 7:00 p.m.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Thank you. And because we're remote and in person, our roll call vote.
Gerald Mazeikis, yes?
Andrea Wood, yes?
Don Hayes, yes. And Sam's on mute again.
He's gone home.
Give me a thumbs up.
Sorry about that. Yes,
Thank
silly
you.
button.
It's
Hard to see
unanimous.
it.
Yeah, we are adjourned. Thank you all.